Well, good afternoon, Flosstube. Today is Friday, March 11th, 2022, and this is Flosstube episode number 14. So it's been like 3 months since I did my Flosstube. I have been stitching. I just haven't been able to post. But, you know, some days I've stitched more than others. There have been days because of my schedule that I haven't been able to stitch at all. But very few, even if it's only for 20 minutes. I really do try to put a few stitches in, even if it's in my red samplers, which I'll talk about first. But what I kind of wanted to talk about today was my stitching schedule and, you know, how I schedule out what I stitch. Because since my last Flosstube, I think that's the biggest question that I've had is how do you stitch so much and how do you get so much done? And, you know, I just stitch consistently. So some days, like I say, I have just a few minutes to stitch, and other days I can stitch for a couple hours. But I do try to stitch at 9 o'clock every night is kind of like my time that I settle down from work and things like that, and I can get my stitching out. So that's just kind of the schedule that I go to as far as every day, what time. But as far as what I stitch on those days, this is kind of what I've been doing and what I plan doing for the rest of the year. So I thought that I would kind of share that with you on this episode, just going through each month what I do, and then I just go ahead and repeat the same schedule for the next month. And I'll be doing that throughout the year, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, I pretty much kind of do this anyway, and it works well. So when I say schedule, that I stick to a schedule, it's not about getting things done and how fast I can get things done. My schedule is about pulling out certain whips at certain times so that I can have some finishes and some whips going on at the same time. So for me, it's not about speed. It's about enjoying it, but making sure that I, you know, get some things stitched that I wanted to stitch. So I'll just start off by talking about my red samplers that I'm doing. So if you've been following in my Flosstube, that you know that I've been doing a heritage wall. So I'm doing red samplers for my great grandmas first, and then I'm going to be doing for my grandmothers, and then my mother, and then for me, and then my daughter, and then my granddaughter. And I'm going to put them all on the same wall. They're all going to be red samplers. And so I really need to get these two that I have finished to the framer. So you've seen this one. This is for my great grandma on my dad's side, for Genoveffa Ciccone Salzetti, and she's been done for quite a while. But I waited till I could get this one finished for Elvira Lillian Bigelow Ewell, and she is on my dad's side as well. This is my dad's mother's mother, and this is, wait, did I say that right? My dad's mother's, this is my dad's mother's mother. This is my dad's father's mother. I said that backwards. And so I finished this one up, and since I saw you last, so let's see, I think I put the charts in here somewhere. So this is Sarah Platt, and I stitched her on 36 count vintage maple sugar by Lakeside Linen, and I used Schoolhouse Red for her. And so she is ready to go to the framers. I need to take her over at the same time that I take this one over, and I'll get this one done. So this is, again, for Great Grandma Salzetti, and this is by Sub Rosa, and it's called the Red Sampler. And so some of them I've had to adjust a little bit just to make sure that I can fit their name in, but that's pretty much the adjusting that I'm doing. And then while I was talking about that one, I wanted to show you what I have chosen for next time. So this is what I'm going to do right here. This is by With My Needle, and it's Quaker Samplings, and there's Quaker Sampling 1 and Quaker Sampling 2, and I'm going to do 2 right there. I love that. And so what I'm going to do is just do the alphabet, do that, and I haven't decided yet if I'm going to put the name in between here or the name underneath there. And so this one I'm doing for my mom's grandma, my great-grandma Crane, Sarah Jane Butterfield Crane. And she was born in Harriman. And I can't remember the year, but let's see, I might have wrote that on the chart. Oh, I did. She was born in 1872. And so I think that's going to be really pretty. And so what I decided to stitch on for her was Dunes at Dusk by LFA Linens, which is Legacy Fiber Arts. And so these are fairly new linens. And for those of you who watch Sue and Rachel on Floss Toss, you know, on their Flosstube, then you know that they've been starting to do linens. And when I say they, I mean Sue does the linens by dyeing them. She does the linens and then she sends them over to Rachel, who is from Treehouse Fiber Arts, and then she packages them up and you can get those off of her website. And so I think they make a great team on Flosstube, and now they make a great team for doing these linens as well. But this one I thought was so pretty. This is called Dunes at Dusk. It's 36 count, and I love the modeling in it. I love the colors. It looks very vintage, and I think that in red is going to be beautiful on there. And so for the reds, I haven't really chosen yet. I have this old smaller vintage red bread box that I've been keeping my red threads in. So I'm just going to open this up, and I've shown you this bag before, but I've kept my red threads in. So I've got to show you this. Oh, before we talk about red threads, I'm going to set this aside so I can remember to tell you about that. Pretty excited about that. Apparently I've got red scissors in here too. That's what I have in my bread box. So this I've shown you before. I have my favorite DMC red in 347. I have those in there, and you know I use that all the time. This one I have my silks in, just a bunch of silks that I have in there, a lot of different reds to choose from. I mean, it's like I only choose one red for each sampler, so I don't know why I feel like I just need so many, but you know, it's better to have too many choices than not enough. Now this bag, I've got some new threads in here that I need to choose from. I'm either going to choose one of these. This is what the bag is. This is from the sack. This is a crocheted bag. And a couple of months ago, Kimberly at Fat Quarter Shop started listing. She has not all of them, but she started listing a lot of these cottage garden threads from Australia, and I just think they're so beautiful in the package. These are not silks. These are 100% cotton. This is what it looks like when you open them up, and you can keep them on here like this and use them, and there's a hole here so you could just put that on a ring. But this is what they look like before you do that. And I'm just thinking, I mean, look at all this cloth, this linen, any red's going to look great on. So I don't know which one I'm going to choose yet. I don't know. It's either that one, or I acquired a few silks that I need to put in my silk bag over there of the Vicki Clayton silks, that I may just choose one of these. I just like to use a different linen and a different red with each sampler, and but they'll all go together. But aren't those pretty? So I'll put those on the side. This one on its side on this looks really good. This is called OMG Red. So I may just choose that one. I don't know, I like all of this. This canna lily, this is pretty. Red carnation, all just the little variegations. This might have a little bit too much variegation for me. I don't know. I have to choose, and these will be too light, but look how pretty they are. I just bought these off of Kimberly's website just so I could kind of see in real life what they look like. And I love these colors for something else, but I think I want something a little bit stronger for these red samplers. So I must have really liked red carnation because I have 3 of those. And this is Running Postman. And then this is Canna Lily. So So I don't know, I guess I'll let you know next Flosstube, or probably on my Instagram, what I ended up choosing. But I'm pretty excited about working on this linen. It's beautiful. I joined their club, their linen club, and so you get one of their linens every 3 months. So I'm pretty excited about that. So that's what's going on with that, and I wanted to show you this first because no matter what I'm stitching on throughout the month, when I sit down in the evenings to start stitching, like I've said before, I always do like 1, 2, or 3 red threads in my samplers. So I don't have a day set aside specifically that I do these because I do them every day. And so sometimes I'll put 5 or 6 threads in. It just depends on what's going on, or if I want to, you know, finish a motif or something like that, or how far I am into the alphabet. But I'll be starting this week. So I'm excited about that. And thanks so much, Rachel and Sue, for this linen that I purchased at the shop because I loved it so much. And I should have brought the other ones in, but I did buy 3 or 4 others too. So you'll have to go check it out. I'll try to leave a link so that you can go check it out. If you haven't already, you probably already have. So, all right, so let me set that aside and out of the way. And so that's what I do typically, you know, every time I sit down to stitch. But I put this in this box because I did not want to forget to share this with you. These came at Christmas time, and my last Flosstube was like December 10th or something like that, if I remember right, when I looked on. And so I didn't get to share these with you, but we have a little friend group that we do a little stitchy Christmas gift that we draw names for, and then it's secret until we receive it. And so I was lucky enough that Brenda had my name, and I'm talking about Brenda Sampler Stitcher, and look what she stitched for me. And I'm so thrilled with this because she knows how much I love red, and she knows how much I like to keep my red sampler stuff out. So this works for Christmas, and it also works for year round. And look at this beautiful strawberry. Love that. And then look what she did. She went and did me some little sampler in a jars to add to my collection. The L and the house and the chair. And then she sent me this beautiful, beautiful box. Now this is a #1 size. And you know, I love these. I collect these, and I believe, oh, got the lid on back. I believe she does too, but look at that. Look at I love these bentwood boxes. And this is handcrafted in Iowa by Jerry Herman. I hope I said that right. I should put my readers on to see that, but maybe if I put it like that and you're watching on the big screen, you can see. I just want to make sure I get that right, but it's beautifully done. So thank you again, Brenda. I just love it. I treasure it. I have it in my hallway on my shelf with all of my cute little stitchy things. And so I'll just keep it there. But I'm glad I remembered to bring that in to show you. Okay, so I feel like it's taken me a while to get going on this, but because I'm going to kind of do it backwards. So that's what I do, you know, before I stitch with everything. But the reason I'm doing backwards and what I'm bringing this in is because I have been stitching, as you know, on Hawk Run Hollow, okay, for quite a while. And I'm like, I've got to figure out some kind of a schedule that I can get this, you know, kind of tentatively maybe done this year if I kind of stick with it. So here's the threads that I got from Shepherd's Bush. This is their conversion. And I kind of, you know, change things up a little bit, but it's mostly the Shepherd's Bush conversion. Again, there it is by Carriage House Samplings. And so let me just kind of go like this so maybe you can see everything. I'll put that up there. All right. I've just been working on the pig. I'm almost finished with that. So as long as you can see that. So this is on straw, 36 count by Weeks Dye Works. And so whenever I stitch on 36 count, which I usually do, that's my sweet spot, linen. And I stitch with 1 thread over 2. And that's why I like 36 count, because I really like the coverage of 1 thread, and I enjoy stitching with 1 thread most of the time. So I'm still working on this down here, meaning all I have left to do is fill in this cute little green behind here, behind the letters. And here's the little naked letters over here and here, so you can see what I've got to fill in, and then I can go on and move down. So what I've been doing with this is I've been picking this up the last day of every month. So I guess you could call it the last day Sal. And what I'm doing is inviting you to stitch with me if you want on the last day Sal. But what I'm doing is stitching autumn things and fall things or Halloween things. And that's why I picked the last day, because the 31st is basically when I've been picking it up. But, you know, some months don't have the 31st, and February, of course, doesn't even have the 30th. So I've either been picking it up on the 30th, 31st, or, you know, 28th or 29th or whatever is what I'm going to be doing. But so it's just the last day of the month. And so what I will do with that is stitch for, you know, a couple, 3 days or whatever, stitch on that until I hit the next one. So the next one, let me set this aside, is I'm always wanting to do Americana stitching and Patriotic, and I usually have that going year round. But this is another big one that I've been stitching on for a while, and if you've been following me, you know that I've been stitching on this for a while. This is Land That I Love by Theresa. And I'm stitching this on 36 count platinum by Weeks Dye Works, 1/2 threads again, and I'm doing a few called for threads and a few of my own conversions. And this is what I have finished so far. But I picked this up on the 4th of every month because, you know, 4th of July, get it? You can kind of see a theme coming up with the holidays. So I'm working on the strawberries right now. I'm just starting to fill in these blue things all along here. And then the little blueberries. And then I have the little white strawberry blossoms that I'll fill in and finish that border. But I'm loving this. And so then I'll pick this up on the 4th. And when I say I pick it up on the 4th, again, I always do my red stitching for my heritage wall. And then I'll stitch on this at least that night. But most of the time, I like to stitch on something for 2 or 3 days. You know, give it some love so that I can get something stitched. I believe that it took me like 2 days to do this one. Maybe, you know, 2.5, something like that, to fill in this whole, I think I just had a few of these strawberries done. And so that was a couple of days worth. But again, you know, it's not about speed. It's just about touching each one that I want to, you know, kind of work on finishing so that I get to that point. So I'll skip right from my, you know, end of the month from fall and stitch on that until the 4th. And then I'll pick that up and stitch on that, and maybe any other Americana stitches, but I'm trying to just stick with one at a time so that I can finish that and then just move on to the other one so I can stitch with the same date. Now this one I've had going for a little while, meaning I started it last year for mine and Mr. Honey's anniversary. And this is by Barbara Anna Designs. This is Love Never Fails. So I did this start last year. I was able to do this right here, this little floral. And I decided, okay, I really want to get this done and get it in my bedroom. And so what I decided to do with this was, again, do the same thing as that I'm doing with my other stitches, is something that makes sense to me and works for me to pick it up on a certain day. Now, it just happens to be our anniversary on August 8th, and so I thought this is perfect to pick this up on the 8th of every month. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 3 months. And so just from that, I was able to work on these up here. And now I'm doing this in my own DMC conversions. I kind of want it to match my bedroom. So I've been keeping just the floss in the bag. I really need to get it on floss cards. And I have this in the bag, and I'm like, I really need to take the time to do this, but I thought I'd show you these. I need to get these punched. These are my business cards that I did. So this is a picture of me sitting under the hairdryer when I was 3 years old, and my mom took that picture. And so on the back, it's my QR cards. It's like my business cards. But I designed them so that I have this gingham down here so that I can punch a circle or the square like I like to use for the floss, so that I can put the floss on there, and then just a smaller hole here with a regular paper punch so that I can get them put on a ring. So that's what I'm going to be doing with this right here. And as far as I'm going to stick to the design, I'm just going to change some wording a little bit because it is our wedding sampler. So instead of putting love in here, I'm going to put Holt, which fits in there perfectly. And then I'll put my first initial here, Mr. Honey's first initial there. I'm going to put, instead of the year we were married, I think I'm going to be putting the year that we both were born in there. We were both born in the same year. He's only a month older than I am. And so I'm going to put the year that we were born there, and then this scripture I'm going to be putting in here. This is the scripture. I think I told you this before when I started it. I'm not sure, but this is the scripture that I put, that we had in our wedding. I had little scrolls done with this scripture, little thank you scrolls with a little treat, and had them in a basket so that the guests could take as they were leaving, and had a little treat with it. But I've always loved that scripture, so much so that I put it in our wedding. So I thought that was perfect when I saw that. So I need to get these cards done so that I can get punched and these DMCs wound. All right, so that's what I work on the 8th. Oh, I think I forgot to tell you what I was stitching that on. I have my library card here, and then I forgot to tell you. So this is 36 count Abecedarian by R&R. And again, I did tell you that I'm doing my own DMCs, but this is the colors that I've chosen. And okay, this time I'm finished with that. Okay, so then I stitch on that, you know, from the 8th, and then I can stitch on whatever I want for, you know, clear until it's time for my 25th day sal, which is my Christmas stuff that I told you about. But so I'll show you that then. But I wanted to pull this in because I do kind of do 2 different things on the weekends. Meaning on Saturdays, I've been following with Brenda and Laura with their Blackbird sew along on the weekends, the Blackbird weekend. Maybe I have I don't know if I have the hashtag written down here. But it's the Blackbird, I can't remember, but you guys watch them. You know, it's the Blackbird Weekend Sal. So this is what I've been doing, is the Garden Club series. And so I've already shown you that I did number 1, which is right here. And I had already shown you that I had done number 2, but I was able to finish number 3, which looks like this, meaning it's half and half. Let me see if there's a picture that shows the whole. So on the back, it shows you how you're using different linens, and you just join the different linens before you frame them. But on this number 3, you actually use 2 different linens for those and then join them. I think that's so cute. That one's called Honeybee. And where's my library card? So number 1 is stitched on Cocoa by R&R. These are all 36 count. So this is Cocoa by R&R. This is Confederate Gray by Weeks Dye Work. This is also Confederate Gray, and this is Beige. But a long time ago when I bought this, I bought these linens. Shepherd's Bush had these all kitted up to go with these charts, all these little linens. So see, this is all I have. I know that I have everything that I need for all of these blocks. There's 12 of them. Number 4, this is what number 4 is going to look like. So that's what I'll be doing next. And then it just tells you, obviously, inside which, you know, which linen that you're going to be stitching on, or whatever linen they call for is what I bought. This one's going to be on Beige. So that's what I'll be doing tomorrow, probably starting, you know, putting my start in that and pulling my colors for that. Okay, so on Saturdays, that's what I try to do on Saturdays for that. And then on Sundays, as you know, I have my Sabbath stitch. Let me pull this in. And I always start this on, you know, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. And I keep showing you this every year, all year long, because I started this last December, a few days before Christmas Eve, because I have my little date there. So this is 36 count beach brew. And I used all the called for colors, except for just a few, which are the anchor threads. This is by Theresa, Kitten Stitcher, Shakespeare's Peddler, A Savior's Praise. And I finished it so that I could start my other one. And I'm so happy that I finished it. I was so happy about it. So now I got to take this to the framers too. So there you can see the top part, which you've seen a million times. But if I maybe move this up a little bit. All right, Cash, you're going to have to tell me if they can see the bottom here. This whole thing. Okay, cool. All right, so this is the one that I told you I was doing for my great-grandmother, which is my mother's grandmother, because her name was Martha Elizabeth Butterfield. She was born in 1888 in Harriman, but she had 6 daughters, and she was a prolific quilter. She had 6 daughters, and she taught them all to quilt. Here's all their initials. This is my grandmother, and this is her 5 sisters. I quilted with all of them. That's how I grew up, quilting with my grandma and my great aunts. And so this to me just kind of looked like Harriman, the town that I grew up in, that they all were born in and grew up in as well, including my mother. And so it just kind of was like her journey across here and, you know, into Harriman. And so that's why I included that and the words of the hymn. But the only thing I changed design-wise, other than I changed 2 colors, but design-wise is this. Theresa had these really cute deer with, I love these antlers down here and their cute little wiggly legs. I love that. And this little urn. But I decided that this was a perfect spot that I kind of wanted to end with a little border with 6 different quilt blocks. Not different quilt blocks, 6 quilt blocks. And put this flower that Theresa had in you know, down here at the bottom. So this kind of represents, again, my great-grandma. And so what I did was I just centered that here. Theresa had the year here, but I put my initials here and centered the flower with that. And then I just went ahead and did 6 quilt blocks that I just designed and did it on the cloth. I just did 1 till I saw, you know, that I liked the colors and liked how it looked. I wanted them to be definite quilt blocks, which is why I used this color for the star points. But yet I kind of wanted to look like a border to kind of blend them together. So anyway, that's what I ended up with. And I'm super happy with it. So happy that it's finished. I've been working on that all year long, every Sunday, and for my Sabbath stitch. And it's been very satisfying. I've enjoyed every X that I put into this. And I cannot wait to get it framed and get it hung on my wall. And so there's that one. And because I finished that one, I was able to I'm trying to set this down so it doesn't fall over. If you hear a noise, it's because everything fell over in my pile over there. I wanted to finish that one because I wanted to start my new one, which I told you last time what I would be starting was Consider the Lilies by Beth Twist, Heartstring Samplery. And so I'm really hoping, at first I thought, I don't know if I can get this done in a year, but I think that if I stick to my schedule and work really hard, meaning when I say work hard, not like stitch for 12 hours a day on Sunday or anything, but just be very consistent, because for me, that's what I found out the key is. It's not really about stitching for hours and hours on end. It's just about being consistent with a certain project. And that's how you get, you know, that finish. And so what I'm doing with this is I started out by buying the floss at Shepherd's Bush. And then I kind of ended up starting to do some substitutions with some of the hues, you know, that pleased my eye a little bit better. And I just kind of ended up changing half of it. So I think I ended up keeping all of the neutral colors like the browns and yellows and things like that. But I think I pretty much substituted with stuff I had in my stash for everything else. And I'm doing this on 36 count sand by Picture This Plus, and I'm loving it. I'm just so excited about this because I knew I wanted to pick, every year I want to pick a very special stitch for my Sabbath stitch. You know, something that has a scripture in it, something about the Savior, just something that to me means something extra special and personal to me in my life. And so I'm just, you know, this is what I've been able to do in 3 months worth of Sabbath stitching. So I do have quite a bit of the border done over here. When I say quite a bit, it's all the way to the side, but I do have the whole entire, consider the lilies going across there. So I really haven't had a lot of time each Sunday to stitch on this, but I've been trying to do, you know, like one motif, or this one was a couple of Sundays. And I'm going to be, I think, because see this lily border, there's a lot of lilies. So I'm thinking that maybe I can do something with this that I do with my red sampler stitching. I don't want to pile it on too much, but I was thinking maybe I could do one lily every day at the same time I do my red sampler stitching and just get all those lilies finished. There's 40 lilies, and I have 14 almost finished. And so I think that if I'm consistent with that and kind of work on the border a little bit so that when Sunday comes, I can just work on these motifs on the inside, I really could possibly finish it by December. So that's kind of my goal. We'll see how far I get on that, but that's what I'm doing with that. Super excited about it. I love this design by Beth. She does a beautiful job on that, and I've seen so many of you guys stitch yours and finish it, and that's so amazing. Okay, so after I work on that, after I'm, you know, working on that Saturday and Sunday, I told you, then in between, clear until Christmas, I have a couple of, my Christmas stitch, not till actual Christmas, till the 25th day. I have a couple of weeks that I can stitch on whatever I want. But before I do that, I want to show you, you know, the things that I've chosen to stitch this year. I want to talk to you about my 25th day stitch sal. And so I'm doing paper snowflakes. And so I showed you my start last time, meaning I think I just showed you what I was going to do. But I have been showing some progress that I've been doing on Instagram. So I'll bring that up a little bit closer. And so I'm happy with the progress on that. This is 36 count Cafe au lait by Fiber on a Whim. And of course this is by With Thy Needle and Thread. And I've just been picking this up, and this one I have not been stitching on 2 or 3 days. This one I literally just stitch on the 25th. So however much I can get finished on the 25th, that's what I stitch. And so I'm just stitching with these. I need to get these on a card too, but I've got these in a bag. I'm just stitching those with the overdyes, with kind of some called for, and a lot of just substitutions of things that I had in my stash and that looked good on this fabric. And so when I finish this up, I'll probably pick up, well, I'll show you that in a minute because I've got that here because I did make some progress on that. So that's my 25th day. I love seeing you guys. It's so fun to see on Instagram and your hashtags and your Christmas stitching that you're doing on the 25th. I wanted to show you this because I didn't have this quite finished, and my goal was to have it finished by Christmas on my last Flosstube, and I wanted to let you know that I did finish it. And this is Jenny Bean's Christmas Sampler by Shakespeare's Peddler. And I stitched this on 36 count Thornfield by Needle and Flax, and I used overdyed threads for my own stash. I've had several of you ask me for my conversion, so I will put this conversion in the notes here. Instead of doing another blog post, I think I'll just put my conversion here on this stitch if you're interested in that. But I just think it's so beautiful. And I've been wanting to stitch that for a long time, so I'm happy. So I'll be taking this to Jamie as well to get that framed, and then we'll be all framed and ready to go by Christmas time. So there's that. And then this is what I'll pick up when I finish Paper Snowflakes. So remember I had started this with Kristie, and now Kristie's finished, but she had, she did such a beautiful finish. And I was just inspired by hers because I knew I had that ready to go. And so when I saw she was stitching it, it was time for me to pick mine up and stitch it with her. And she was able to come a couple of weeks ago, and she was able to, and we stitched a few things together. But at Christmas time when she came, we were able to stitch on this together. And so this is Heaven and Nature Sing by Kathy Barrick. And this is stitched on 36 count weathered by No. 1-2 Stitch Company. And let's see, my little, oh, here's my flosses. I put those aside. This is what I normally keep in my bag, but I put these here in this bowl so I could show you. These I'm doing with MPI silks. And so what I like to do with my silks, I don't really like to put them hanging down. They don't do well for me. I'd rather have those wrapped or just keep them in their own original thing. So what I've been doing is putting these, which works out perfectly, on my Sugar Sweet floss flowers. This is what these look like. There's 12 in a package. And so they're all the same color, and that's what I like to use these for, so I can see the true color of the silks. And then I just take this Identipen right here, because it doesn't smear, and I just write on the back on the petal, and then I'm just going to keep it on here in my drawers. I have some vintage, you know, Coats and Clarks. I have several sewing drawers that I keep my silks in, and so I just put these back in the drawers, and I'll just keep these on here. And I think it keeps them nice and neat. And this one is not an MPI. This is Schoolhouse Red, so I really like that red. But anyway, that's what I was able to finish when, not finish, this is how much I was able to finish when Kristie was here right before Christmas, and then I have not picked it up since. But when I finish Paper Snowflakes, this is what I was talking about. I'll pick this one back up and work on him, and I'll just continue on the 25th of every day, just doing something Christmas all year round. And I think that's going to be nice to, you know, make some progress that way. And I think I might have 2 projects done by Christmas if I do that. All right. So let's talk about now the in-between things that I can do when I have those 2 weeks. So, you know, I really have the freedom to do whatever I want. Like I can just pick 3 other projects, but I wanted to pick, I didn't even count how many. It's just kind of like whatever I feel like that day, then I'll pick up and work on or something like that. I don't like a schedule so rigid that I feel like I'm getting behind or ahead. I don't ever want to do that feeling. I want to enjoy my stitching. I never want to do something that I feel like I'm getting behind, because that's just not me. I just want to enjoy it. And so this is something that I stitched on in between and was able to finish. And this is, okay, how many times am I going to turn this so it's not upside down? This is my Flea Market Flowers. So happy I was able to finish this. I cannot wait to get this framed and put it in my bedroom. So here is my floss card. I used all of these flosses, and I used all of the called for with the exception of one. I decided to change my denim to 930 because, wait, is that what I called for in the chart? I was going to say no. So in the chart I called for 322, but I changed mine to 930 because that's the denim color that's in the room where I want to put this. And so I stitched this on 36 count Cream and Sugar by Fiber on a Whim. And I used 1/2. And I love how feminine and dainty and spring-like that looks. And so I'm super happy about that. This bag was made by Denise at Goose Designs, this flea market bag out of my fabric, and I love it. And so super happy to have that finished. So that was a finish. So that was something that I worked on in between those set dates. This one, so this bag was made for me out of my flea market fabric by Kristie from Crosshatch Quilts. And, you know, she always makes me the cutest bags. And then I've got one of my charms here, one of my crocheted flowers. Cassidy made me this macrame pool. And I know every time I talk about these macrame things, y'all ask me, you know, for a tutorial from Cass, but I think she just did this from a tutorial off of YouTube, so you could just look. I think it was a keychain, right? You kind of did your own thing, but you looked at tutorials.
I always just look up random like macrame keychain tutorials and then follow them and then use the chunky thread. So that's how I did it.
Yeah, so that's what you can do. Just look up macrame keychains, and there's a lot of tutorials out there, and then you can kind of put your own twist on it. And that's what she did. So anyway, so what lives in this bag and has been living in this bag, but now I can put something else in it because I finished, is my Kaleidoscope, which is in my Kaleidoscope book that I did using my bee cross stitch fabric. So my bee cross stitch fabric, let me see, I think in the very beginning so there's my bee cross stitch fabric, meaning there's just X's on there. And so this fabric came out a couple years ago, and it's just like got all the colors of the rainbow from bright to, you know, a little bit vintage, more vintage looking. And so that's what all of the quilts were made out of from that. But I took this quilt block right here, my Kaleidoscope quilt block, and kind of designed the cross stitch for that. And so there is a pack. Oh, I shouldn't have put the bag to the side. So I picked all of this to match the fabrics. So here's a pack from Fat Quarter Shop for all the floss colors that matches all of the fabrics. So you can see the colors of the actual fabrics better here. I probably should have just pulled a bundle of fabrics in here and showed you, but I picked 3 of those colors to do here. And so I've done 930, that same denim, 562, and 3899. And I love how that turned out. And you could literally just change the order of these. It would be the same color, but you could start with the green. And, you know, I love this. This is so fun to stitch because I just did the center thing first, and then the outside, the middle, and then the outside. I'm going to finish this in a hoop and paint it, I think, the outside of the hoop like a denim color or something like that. And I think it's going to fit in a 7-inch is what I had measured. And this is on 36 count, Winter White by Seraphim. And so if you do 36 count, it'll fit in a 7-inch, or obviously you could do an 8-inch as well. But I got that finished quite a while ago. I just never got a chance to show you. And so there's another one. What's this? I'm going to have you set this up here so I can stack other things over here. All right, so that's one of the things I worked on. And like I say, with 2 weeks, I didn't do all of these in the same 2 weeks. It's been 3 months since my Flosstube, so it just kind of has worked back and forth. I just wanted to show you my whips and the things I was able to finish during that time. I almost had this finished on my last Flosstube, and so I was able to finish this. This is by Bright Needle. It's the Dutch Hornbook. I keep wanting to say sampler, but it really doesn't say sampler. It just says Dutch Hornbook by Bright Needle. And this was so fun to do. Let's see, where's my, I think I lost my library card sitting on here, but I'm sure I have written in here what I did. Oh, so this is on 40 count straw flower by Lakeside Linen. I thought it was 36 count because that's what it was marked, but as I started stitching, I could tell it was 40, and I measured it. So this is on 40 count, and I love straw flower. It's one of my favorite linens. It's just so neutral, and I like that it's just a very light beige, but it's not gray, and it's not yellow, and it's not really tan. It just actually has a little teeny bit of pink to it to me. Anyway, I just love that. And what I did for my threads there, I just did my own conversion because it was at the time when I pulled this out to do this. Hopefully you can see that, these threads right here, that I had picked all these up at Joann's when they very first came out. And these are all the anchor threads on the spool. And I love these. I like, I mean, they still have a sheen to them, but it's kind of, so I don't want to say it's a flat finish. But the one thing that I like about anchor threads is I think they're just vintage looking, if that even makes sense. I don't know. And, you know, I like that. I've heard a lot of people say that, I don't know if a lot, but I've heard a few people say that they feel like these threads fray, but I don't feel like that. But of course I use my beeswax on the ends, and I just don't use a really long thread, because any thread that you use that's really long is going to fray a lot. And I don't use a long, you know, a super long thread. But anyway, so I just did that. And also I've heard that Bright Needle is going to be republishing some of their charts, and so I sure hope this is one of them, because this is really fun to do. I love this very whimsical sampler. I didn't do anything different. I just kind of moved some colors around, and I just love this little girl. I love the windmill. You know, it says love one another down here. Love the house, I just love everything about it. It looks, to me, it looks very spring, and so I'm happy to have that finished. And so I can take that to Jamie as well. Jamie's going to be busy by the time I take all of this stuff into her and ask her to frame it. I'm going to be busy. It's probably going to take me all day to be in there to get things, you know, to choose the frames. So here's another whip that I've been working on. This is the Floral Motif Sampler by the Scarlet House. And I am stitching her on 36 count pie crust from the Kitten Stitcher. And I have been waiting to, I've had this pie crust for a while, and Graham did this, Teresa's son, and he always does such a beautiful job on linens. And I saw that when Brenda finished hers, it was so beautiful. So I was just like, Brenda, you gave me my marching orders as soon as I saw yours. So I decided to start stitching it. I haven't made a lot of progress on it, but I have picked it up here and there and said, okay, I'm just going to do a little motif here and there. But it's been so fun. It's very peaceful stitching, and I think that if I'm consistent with that and pick it up at least 1 or 2 days during the months then that come along, that I'll be able to get that finished. And here's my threads. I just pulled colors from, wait, let me see on my card to make sure. I'm so used to changing my reds and stuff like that. I want to see. Let me open this and see if I did my own. I'm doing some called for and some I've switched out. But I think that's going to be pretty. So that's another one of my whips. Here's another whip that I've shown you before, but I did make progress in the last 3 months. Not a lot of progress, but enough to call it progress. And again, consistency is the key, and that's all that matters. If I'm consistent with what I'm doing, I know that I will eventually have a finish. But I have so many that I've just started and haven't pulled back out, that I'm like, okay, I have to, you know, pick a good handful of ones that I'm going to be consistent with. And so these are the kind of a lot of the most recent ones that I've been showing you that I've decided that I want to work consistently on so that I can finish. This is by Theresa Kogut. This is Come to the Garden. I love this. I think it's gorgeous. I'm a gardener, so what's not to love about this? I'm stitching this on 36 count Milk and Honey by Fiber on a Whim. And this was, last year was my Easter start. So you see, I didn't really get a lot of progress on it, and now it's almost Easter, but I did pick this up and was able to do a little bit more here, and got that little flower done. But now I'm going to consistently work on it, and just one motif at a time. And I'm using, on this one, I'm doing some of the called for, and then just some of my own substitutions, like my, you know, reds and pinks. But, you know, when I finish, I'll let you know what I did for those of you who may be interested. Okay, so there's that one that I'm going to be working on this year. Maybe better put it over there. That pile's getting pretty high. This is a finish that I was able to do. So this is Brick House Sampler. Okay, and it is by Brenda Gervais. Now, you may say, well, it's not finished, but it is finished to me because look at these flowers here. They're gorgeous, but I have a certain area that I want this sampler on my sampler wall to go. And so I wanted to stop right there because I wanted a very short, wide frame for this sampler. And so I debated back and forth. I kept thinking, okay, do I do the flowers? Do I not do the flowers? But I really, really wanted, I just knew it would change the shape of the frame again. And I have several other samplers like that on my sampler wall. I kind of want to make sure that I have some like this that will go on top of other samplers and that I can fit into smaller little spaces. And so I decided to go ahead and just stop on this one right there. And I'm really happy with it. Now this one I started last September with as a stitch along, as a sampler stitch along with the Happy Little Stitch Shop. And so Angela's the owner of Happy Little Stitch Shop, and they have a lot of stitch alongs happening. And so when I found out that they were doing this one last year for their stitch along that they were going, I found out like in the summer that they were going to start it in September. And I've had this, you know, ready to go and in my, you know, whip pile, not whip pile, but my starting pile. And so I just did my own DMC conversion. And of course, you know, this is 347. And so I'm super happy with that one. And I'll take that one to Jamie as well. Again, that's the Brick House Sampler. And these are Theresa's Holy Molies, her cards that I showed you before that I just punched. I love this. I can't stop looking at this, but I need to stop looking at it because I got to move on. Okay, Cass, let's over here. Okay, I have one more whip to show you. And this one is one that I'm doing with Kristie. And of course, Kristie made me this bag. This is Jane Austen fabric. Cassidy made me this little, her Cassidy's keychain pull. This flower is from my tutorial that I did on the same video or same day that Cassidy filmed this tutorial. We did these two together, and then of course covered button in the center. But this is Riley Blake fabric. This is the Jane Austen Riley Blake fabric bag, and which is still available, but I'm excited to tell you that they have another more prints coming up the end of this year, I believe. If not by the end of this year, it's the beginning of next year. But I'm pretty sure it's the end of this year that they're going to be having more Jane Austen fabrics. And so for those of you who are Jane Austen fanatics and love this fabric like everybody else did, there's more coming, and there's another sew along with it. And I mean, the fabric is just gorgeous, and it's actual replica of the fabric that was in the quilt that Jane Austen made with her sisters and things like that. You can find out all the information on Riley Blake's website. But anyway, I decided that this sampler in here needs to go in this bag because it's just very fitting, because it's a Hands Across the Sea sampler. And this is Anne Tong Uffendale, 1835. I am making a little bit of progress, but this is one that I'm going to be working on throughout the year. And Kristie was able to come over a couple weeks ago, and we were able to work on this together, and we worked on our autumn at Hawk Run Hollow together too. But I was able to do this since last time. I think what I had first started with was this, so I was able to start on this. You know, this is going to take quite a while. This has got some satin stitching here, which is really going to be pretty around here. Excuse me. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to put in here. I'm not going to put that verse in there. And I'm not sure whose name I'm going to put in here. But it may just be mine, or it may be for someone in my family. I don't know. But I just think it's beautiful. And I'm having a, you know, really good time stitching it with Kristie. And we show our progress back and forth and keep each other motivated. And so this one is, again, on straw flower. I told you I love straw flower. This is on 36 count, and it's Lakeside linen, and I am using the silks on this. and I keep them in this little bag right here. And I don't, you know, I don't want to keep those, like I say, on a ring or anything like that. You know, I could eventually wrap these on my floss flowers too, but for right now, they've been working. They're such a tiny little compact skein. It's cute. And so I'm using mostly the called fors. I did change my reds and greens like I usually do. But I love this. I think it's such a beautiful sampler. And so that's another whip that I've been doing during that time. And so, all right, go that way. And then I've got these bags in here because I don't know if you've noticed, I haven't shown you anything, but I literally have not started anything. All of my starts that I wanted to do, that I had plans for in my last floss tube just kind of went out the window because of my designing schedule, but that's okay because they're still there and I can still start things. But I've just been enjoying being able to pick things up that I had already started and making progress on them. So, you know, in between my work and, you know, in the evenings, I could just sit down and relax and binge watch some things and didn't have to worry about putting things together and starting anything. But I still want to start in this bag. I want to show you some things that I want to start whenever I get in the mood to start. Right now, I'm not in the mood to start anything. I'm just enjoying what I'm stitching. But last time I showed you this, that with the needle and thread, that I really wanted to start and said, I'm going to start this, I'm going to start this. Well, I never did. I just could not get to it. So this is one that's still on my radar. And of course, you know, Nashville needlework, there's a ton more things, you know, that are going on. So who knows what I'm going to be able to, you know, find from there that I might decide to just go ahead and start instead. But I really like that one. And again, it's not a race to start anything. It's just like whenever I get the time or feel like it. So a lot of things that I want to start, I don't want to start anything big because I feel like I have several big samplers going, which is something that really kind of stopped me from starting that one. So I have a few smaller things on my radar. This one I've had on my radar for a long time. This is by Birds of a Feather. This is the Bitter Flower Sampler. And I really want to put this on my bee wall. And I don't know if I'm going to put the little red letters in between here. I may just stitch. I just love the bees and the flower and the alphabet, how it goes around. So that's one I'd like to start. This bag right here was made for me by Kristie. She brought it out to me a couple weeks ago. It's out of my cookbook fabric. And I love it. Love it, love it. Thank you, Kristie. So that's what I've been keeping in here is things that I'm thinking about starting. Okay, so this one I got from Wendy at Pineberry Lane, Home Sweet Home. She sent me a little note. Thank you. And this is a small that I've always wanted to do. And ever since I've seen it. And this could be easy to start. I literally could do this in one day. It's not that much if I had a good amount of stitching time. So that's another one. And this one is another one I want to put on my bee wall. I've had the DMC for that for a while. And this is Honeybee Sampling. This would be really cute on my bee wall. And that would be a cute little stitch in between my big, you know, my big ones that I have going. So I guess what I'm saying is these small ones is what I want to start. Now this is one that I'm going to start with Laura, the serial starter. And Laura, we just need to get together to figure out when we're going to start this, a start date. When I say I want to do smaller ones in between, this may look small, but it really is not that small. This is called A Fine House Indeed by Lottie Da, and I love it. I just love this house right here. And I love the saying over the top here. It says, "Oh, gentle words and peaceful ways, which spread such brightness o'er our days." But this is 217 by 150. So it's not huge, but it's not real small either. But Laura, we need to start that. Let me know when you're ready to start that. And then last but not least, I know I'll start this. I just don't know when. This is something that I've been going to do for quite a while. And this is, whoops, let me move that over there. So this is the summer schoolhouse. So this is lesson 2. Let's see, where's one? Okay, here's one. Is that too glary? Okay, there's one. This is by with thy needle. And there's 2, and there's 3. And this is exactly what I'm going to do, is do these little pillows. Summer schoolhouse. I've always loved these. And I got these silks from Victoria Clayton Silks. Look how pretty those are. So that's what I'm going to be using for this. And she's got this whole kit right there in her shop for all of this together. So that's what I'm going to be doing is, and when I say the kit, the threads, not the charts. I assume maybe she does have the charts, but if you go to her website, let me make sure I tell you right. I can leave a link too, but it's Vicki Clayton Silks. Handdyedfibers.com is what I'm looking at. I'll leave a link so that you can see the thread packs that she has to go with different things in the silks. So I'm excited about those. And you know, there's 4 of them, but once begun is half done. So I'll be starting on number 1. Don't have a date yet, but I'll just continue and go in order and get those finished. So those are the things that I've been working on, kind of my plans, and I hope that answers your questions about, you know, my schedule, my stitching schedule, and, you know, how I decide what I'm stitching. So yeah, it's a schedule, but it's not a real rigid schedule. Like if I, you know, don't do it a day, or if I'm off a day, it's just not a big deal. They're my rules. It's nobody else's rules. There's no stitching police that's going to arrest me or make me feel behind or ahead, or, you know, that I've neglected anything, because it's just all about enjoying the stitching. And I'm loving stitching on all kinds of linens. I love stitching from all kinds of designers. I love stitching my own things, and I love stitching with all different kinds of threads, and it just makes me happy. And so I encourage you to do the same thing, and maybe stitch a little bit something with a different linen count, or an 8 count, or a different kind of thread maybe than you've, you know, done in the past, if that you are feeling kind of a little slump in your stitching. That always does it for me, and it's just kind of fun. I mean, these are anchor flosses. Like I said, this is just an example. It's just anchor flosses, but because they come on a spool, I was like, "Ooh, I got to get those because they're on a spool." And so that excited me to do another little project that maybe I normally wouldn't have done. And so that's my floss tube for this month. I will be back next week, where I'll be filming for my Remix mini-series. Thank you everyone for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I'll chat with you later.